What's up, and welcome to another episode of the Grindline Podcast. You're listening to episode 179. I am here tonight with Tyler. Ryan is fucking around somewhere. Ryan's on vacation or something because, we're all humans and we need those. I'll be on vacation next week or 2 weeks from now. So we're going to have to figure out a time to record then. But I am here with Tyler. Tyler, how are you doing?
Doing good, you?
It's okay. It's been hot. It's actually beautiful today. The Colorado Avalanche won the Stanley Cup, so that's neither here nor there. And it is a dead news season. The Red Wings still don't have a coach. But other than that, I've been good. Can't complain.
Yeah, I can't complain. The weather's been unreal here. I've been playing a lot of golf.
Just like last week.
Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of getting to that point in time of the year where like hockey's over, and so now I'm going to baseball games and paying attention to baseball a little bit more.
It's the exciting time because we're waiting for stuff to happen. Now you'll see trades start happening. You will see more people picking up coaches and assistant coaches, which we're waiting for.
I can't wait to see the shoe drop, the shoe start to drop on this kind of stuff too.
Yeah, and the draft is in 2 weeks. I will be at the draft party. If you are going to be at the draft party, I will be at the draft party. Ryan will not. Tyler will not. I will be there. So the podcast will be at the draft party. We're going to be hanging out with a few people. Jake Rivard from Wing It Motown is going to be there. Adriana from Unsung Octopi is going to be there. So it's going to be a good time. We're going to figure out what to do before the draft party because we normally meet up and drink and then go to the draft party and drink more. It's also Sport Jim's birthday, so that will be even better. But we have a show, and by we have a show, again, it's dead news season, but we do have things to talk about. So first, we'll get it out of the way quick. Congratulations to the Colorado Avalanche on winning the Stanley Cup.
No, you're wrong. Congratulations to Darren Helm.
Sure, but the Colorado Avalanche, they were the best team. They were the best team in hockey. They deserved it. The Tampa fans can cry all they want about officiating or whatever they want to cry about. The Avs were the best team.
Yeah, I think I think I will say one thing. Their road to the Stanley Cup was not as hard as it's been in years past, but I guess the West just was kind of down. Edmonton couldn't play defense. Calgary couldn't beat Edmonton. Vegas couldn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So they were definitely the best team. And then they beat up a very good Tampa Bay team. So they deserve credit. They won the Stanley Cup. They were the better team. And like I told you before, it was kind of every game was pretty much the same besides the two games that were kind of blowouts where Tampa won, and then game 2 where Colorado blew the doors off of Tampa. So I kind of said this to you before, like Tampa would start out really good and then the game would kind of go to shit and Colorado would pick it up, and they'd pick it up, and some games they'd come back, and then the one game that Tampa won, they kind of held on for dear life. So at the end of the day, yeah, Colorado is the better team, given the credit. I think they're going to be a good team next year as well, as will Tampa. So, there is a possibility that we get the same situation as we got in 07, 08, and 08, 09 with Detroit and Pittsburgh. There's obviously a possibility between Colorado and Tampa. Both of those teams will be back next year. I don't know if they'll be in the finals, but they'll certainly be in the playoffs. I can almost guarantee that at this point.
Yeah, they released the odds for next season, like exactly when the.
I don't understand why they do that.
Did you see them?
Yeah, I did see that. I don't understand why they do that in every sport. And I don't know if you have Bleacher Reports notifications or the score or whatever. Literally after a team wins the championship, the second after, you'll go to bed and you'll wake up in the next morning, you look at your phone, it's like, 2022 or 2023 Stanley Cup odds, Colorado Avalanche favorite. No shit.
But what surprises me, Colorado Avalanche are favorite. Second favorite, the Toronto Maple Leafs. The team who has not made it out of the first round of the playoffs and is now in absolute cap hell is the second favorite to win the Stanley Cup. And then it is Tampa, I believe, and then Vegas. But yeah, and Pittsburgh's on the list too. So I think it's funny because you look and it's who in Toronto paid the odds makers to make the Leafs the second favorite for the Cup when they have done literally nothing to get past the first round of the playoffs. It was kind of funny to me, but yeah, they are favored.
I think they should be in the top 5. They definitely shouldn't be 2. I think it should just be Tampa too.
Sure. But now Tampa's got a little bit of work to do as well in the offseason.
Yeah.
Cooper even said in his post-game press conference that basically that it's not going to be the same group of guys coming back. You've got guys like Andre Plot's probably going to be gone. There's a few others. Stamkos is still really good, but he's not getting any younger. Kucherov will be 30. Kucherov's also a giant baby, but he'll be 30 years old. And the team is getting older. They're going to have to replace some pieces. Eventually, they will also be in cap problems. I mean, would they have been in better shape if Braden Point was healthy the entire series? Probably.
Yeah,
but I still think they would have lost. And you're going to have him back next year.
I think if Tampa was 100% healthy, which you're not in the Stanley Cup playoffs, we played my game for a second. They're 100% healthy. I think there's a chance that Tampa wins that Stanley Cup. And then, I mean, they weren't that far off. They didn't play their best hockey, and they still weren't that far off. So, I mean, Tampa definitely had a chance to win that if some bounces went their way, but they were just not. They weren't the better team, and they didn't deserve to win, so they didn't.
And I think Landeskog said it best because they ask all the time, because we know the NHL is a copycat league, what are other teams going to take away from the Colorado Avalanche going into next season? And his first response was, find yourself a Cale Makar. And it's true. And the Red Wings do have a Mo Seider. So, I mean, we're already halfway there. And the last 2 cups that the Colorado Avalanche won, the Red Wings won the Stanley Cup the year after. So if we follow that same pattern, Red Wings, 2023 Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath.
Book it right now, Tyler.
I wouldn't hold my breath, although I guess
anything's possible.
You're saying there's a chance.
Yeah.
I think if the Red Wings make the playoffs next year, that's a huge step forward.
Huge. Absolute huge.
So, and I think there's a chance. I guess it just depends on kind of what the offseason looks like. Like, we've talked about trade possibilities, and I'm sure we'll talk about some here. Like, there's certainly some opportunities to push your team forward enough where you do make the playoffs.
Sure, I think so.
But I mean, I wouldn't count on it. But I guess it kind of depends on what Steve Yzerman does, and that's kind of what's going to make this offseason as interesting as probably. I don't know. I don't even know when the last quote unquote interesting offseason was. I mean, it had to have been back when the Wings were, contending for Stanley Cups perennial. I can't say that word.
All the time.
That's all the time. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's the only thing that you can kind of, I can't even put a name. Maybe that 2007 offseason, or maybe the offseason after they won the Stanley Cup and got Marian Hossa and just got better and somehow didn't win that cup.
Off seasons really haven't been super exciting since the cap. Yeah. Because when there was no cap, teams could just do whatever the fuck they want, and it was amazing.
The 01 offseason in between that 01 and 02 season when the Wings got Robitaille and they got Dominik Hasek.
The Hall of Fame team.
Yeah, the Hall of Fame team. I mean, again, like I said, that's obviously you can't do that anymore. But in terms of off seasons, I mean, you can be excited about the draft. You can be excited about free agency. There's always trade possibilities. There's endless possibilities to what's going to happen with this team. And you got to be excited for it, really.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be really important, too, because you don't know. You go into it thinking, the Red Wings are going to patch some holes and they're going to bring up a couple prospects and we're going to go out on the ice. But like we mentioned last week, they're still far below the cap floor. And you have to hit that cap floor, and I think we'll be close to it. I don't think we're going to spend super high above it, but Yzerman might make a move that will surprise people. He's got money to spend. We still don't know what's happening with Dylan Larkin, but he's got the money to spend. He's basically confirmed that he's not going to make any huge splashes. He's going to do what makes sense. But if there's someone that becomes like we had talked about, offer sheeting at Kevin Fiala, you've got money to spend there. Now, do you want to give up the picks? Maybe, but if you figure like we figure, they should be at least a borderline wild card team, if not sneaking into that wild card spot. And I think DMAC backed us up on that your draft position is probably not going to be super great next year anyways. You're going to be middle of the pack. So if you've got to give up that pick, then maybe it's not such a big deal that you're giving that pick up next year.
Yeah, I think there's definitely players to be had. The cap doesn't go up a super, large
$1 million
amount
next year.
So, I mean, it goes up a little bit, but it's certainly not enough to get teams like Toronto and Tampa Bay and teams like that are up close to the cap out of the cap situation that they're in. There's a lot of teams up there. Vegas is another one. Montreal somehow is another one.
Holy
we
Lord.
Talked about that. Boston somehow is anher one.
Montreal did themselves a Ken Holland, didn't they? Spend a ton of money and not do anything.
Vegas really has screwed themselves over, and I'm sure they can probably figure it out. But I mean, like I said, they're going to have to kind of have a little bit of a Houdini act to kind of get out of where they are right now. I mean, they have 16 players and they're still like 2 million over the cap. So
that's what happens when you rush to get Jack Eichel.
Make some moves there. Although I think the Shea Weber contract that they got from the Canadians can go on LTIR.
It can.
Right?
Yep.
So
that was the plan there. You get rid of Dadonov's contract and you take on Shea Weber's, but then you LTIR him, so you do save money there. You actually save quite a bit of money, and that will help them. But they're still going to have to make moves to lower their cap even further.
Yeah, and Montreal even getting rid of Shea Weber's contract is still only $1 million under the cap.
I think that it's some prime space for a little bit of Iser fleecing that could possibly happen this offseason because of how much trouble other teams are in.
We talked about Vegas. I don't know if you want to go into that, what I told you about earlier.
Sure, you can start it off with the Nick Hague trade rumors.
Yeah, so a lot of people have started to write about this, and I kind of picked up on it a couple times. I mean, not like anyone's super familiar with the situation, but I have heard some people that mention it, and a lot of people have said that Vegas is in a cap situation, which we are obviously you can see that.
It's abundantly clear.
I believe Nick Hague is an RFA. I don't know if you can look that up.
Yeah, I can look it up.
Oh, I have it here. Yeah, he's an RFA, so obviously he needs a contract. He was making last year $863K. So I mean, he's going to probably need a little bit more than that, but I mean, you could probably he can be had, I would say. He's obviously not a super, offensive defenseman kind of guy, but you don't need that. You need bodies on this team still. Yep. And a guy like that, he's 6'6". He's huge.
He's a big guy. He's 22 years old, so he's young.
Pretty fast guy. I mean, he can be had. And I think the Wings can put together a little package. It doesn't have to be anything super big, I don't think. I think maybe, a second-round pick? I
think you could probably get him for less than that. I mean, Nick Hague right now, looking at Jay Fresh's player card on Nick Hague, his projected WAR is this now is a 3-year weighted average, 61% with an EV offense of 83% and EV defense of 48. Goals per 60, 89% assists, first assist per 60, 69%. So primary assists. I mean, his numbers are good. I think though, because of the situation that Vegas is in, maybe you could give them a third. Maybe you could give them a fourth and a lesser prospect. Yeah, and then maybe deal Zadina to another team and try to get some forward help. Sure, you could do that too. I mean, again, I'm not super ready to give up on Zadina, but if a team came calling and said, "Hey, I've got this guy who wants out. I think he needs a fresh start." You could say, well, maybe Zadina needs a fresh start too. There you go. Pierre-Luc Dubois. But no, that would actually be a good fit. I don't know. I don't know that Winnipeg would do that. I mean, they gave up a significant amount. Well, was it just Line A, right? I mean, yeah. Well, so Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts recently was talking about the situation in Winnipeg and said that going into this offseason, he had the feeling, based on who he's around, that one or two of Wheeler, Scheifele, and Pierre-Luc Dubois would not be back next season. I mean, Blake Wheeler's getting older, so is Mark Scheifele, and Pierre-Luc Dubois is just not happy. So
is that guy ever happy?
No, that's the other thing. So he's mad. He don't want to be there. He didn't want to be
where
he was before.
Anywhere. He didn't want to be in Columbus. Doesn't want to be in Winnipeg.
Okay, I can't blame him for not wanting to be in Ohio, and I can't blame him for not wanting to be in Winnipeg because
isn't his dad? His dad's like part of the Winnipeg Jets organization, I believe.
I don't know. From everything I hear, it is a terrible, frigid, barren wasteland that no one wants to be in. So I would say that if you could maybe package, if you think Zadina needs a fresh start, and apparently Pierre-Luc Dubois needs fresh start number 3, if you could package a Zadina and a pick to get Pierre-Luc Dubois, and then that absolutely solidifies your second line center issue.
Yeah, 100%. Eric Dubois, his dad is the assistant coach for the Manitoba Moose.
Maybe he just doesn't like his dad. I don't know.
That's possible. But I mean, I'd trade for him. I'm not saying I wouldn't trade for him, but I'm not giving up a lot for him. I mean,
no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't either, but he's basically already said that he's not happy and would like to be moved. And if he's requesting a trade again, they're not, I mean, they don't have any, he's an RFA. They don't have any reason to trade him for nothing because they've got control over him. He either plays there or he doesn't play. So I don't know. Maybe you try and swing a trade there. If you think Zadina needs a fresh start, you try and get your second line center that way. Maybe you can trade a Zadina in a couple picks and get a Pierre-Luc Dubois.
And the other thing too, I mean, Pierre-Luc Dubois in the past, the player could threaten the KHL like Athanasiou did.
Sure.
Now with the situation the way it is right now.
Yeah. No, you ain't threatening nothing.
And everything. But the way Russia is right now, are you going to go over and play there? I wouldn't.
No. So I don't think they're playing anything there. Like.
No, they are playing.
Of course,
still doing the KHL and stuff.
A couple teams quit, didn't they? Like there are considerably less.
Ovechkin's scoring goals for their soccer team.
What can't he do? I think they let him. Like you used to see the clips of they like let Putin skate in and
score goals. Yeah,
score goals on them at like fucking 60 plus years old. He's he's terrible shape, and they just let him like geriatrically skate toward the goal, and like the goalie like dives out of the way and he scored. I feel like that's what happened with Ovi. Is they're like, oh, it's Ovechkin, gotta let him score a soccer goal.
Yeah.
So, I think that's possible. I think you could see, and then again, you could then sign Pierre-Luc Dubois to a considerably high-end contract, and there you go. You hit your cap floor.
Well, there's your second line center.
Exactly. And he solidifies your second line center. And I think he would definitely be your 1B. He could be a first line center. So he'd be Larkin's 1B. And that's a fantastic situation to have. I would totally do that. You give up a Zadina, you give up a couple picks, you get your second line center. Maybe you have to give up another prospect in the same, but I don't think he's going to cost you as much as because of his situations and his problems that he's had. I don't think he'd cost you as much as, like we talked about last week, a DeBrincat. I think he could cost you less. You could send Tyler Bertuzzi to Winnipeg, couldn't you?
You could.
You could send Burton a pick to Winnipeg. You could send,
because it doesn't seem like Winnipeg, they want to blow the whole thing up. It seems like they kind of want to retool and like kind of not gut the core, but like just kind of move on from the core and kind of.
If they want Scheifele and Wheeler to stay, they've got to move quickly to try to win, because if, like I said, they're getting older, there's not a lot of extra time there, and they're not going to be in for a full rebuild. If Winnipeg is saying we're rebuilding, Scheifele and Wheeler are going to say, okay, we're out. We don't have the time.
How old is Scheifele?
Mark Scheifele.
He can't be that old. I remember playing NHL Ultimate Team, and he was like a 6'5", 6'3" forward that played for the Barrie Colts.
Mark Scheifele is 29 years old.
Yeah, okay. So I mean, he's got a pretty reasonable contract too. I would actually not mind him.
Blake Wheeler is 35.
Oof.
So yeah, and he'll be 36 in August.
I mean,
So
he's still a good player, but he's
he
just not.
is.
He's not, the player that he once was.
No,
I
but
would
again,
say
he's running out of
Scheifele.
time.
Could the Wings swing and trade for Scheifele?
Does he go against my rule of no players over the age of 28? Yes. He
Yeah, that's
just
true.
turned 29, but maybe. I mean, again,
Dubois 24 though.
you would get your now when are you causing a rift there? I mean, Mark Scheifele last season in 67 games played had 29 goals and 41 assists for 70 points. Does he usurp Dylan Larkin as your top line center at that point?
No, I don't think so.
So you think Scheifele is your second line center at that point?
He
I
could
think
be.
I think you would really have to overpay to get a Mark Scheifele. I think you could get a
It's probably
Pierre-Luc
almost
Dubois.
better to go out and get a DeBrincat.
I think well, no, if we're looking at centers, I think you could pay less to get a Pierre-Luc Dubois than you would have to pay to get a Mark Scheifele. I think the Jets would rather keep Mark Scheifele than Pierre-Luc Dubois, even though Dubois is younger. And it's just the situation that he has put himself in where he's just got a negative attitude, apparently.
Did he have a bad year this year?
Who? Pierre-Luc Dubois?
Dubois, yeah.
If generally you have down years if you're playing somewhere you don't want to be playing.
He had 60 points in 81 games.
He did. He's
He
24
28
years old.
goals and 32 assists.
Yep. So I mean, he had 106 penalty minutes. Holy shit. But yeah, he would come in and he'd be your 1B with Dylan Larkin. Scheifele, so Scheifele would do the same thing. Scheifele would come in and be your 1B with Dylan Larkin or 1A or however you'd want to do it because, again, on a Jets team who is not phenomenal, he had over a point per game. He's had over a point per game the past 4 seasons. 2017-18, he was a point per game. 16-17, he had 82 and 79. So the last season he was not a point per game player was his third year in the league. 2015-16, he had 61 points in 71 games. So at 29, he's still at an exceedingly high level of play. And I think it would take you much more to get him than it would for you to get a Pierre-Luc Dubois. Even though both of them would do what you want them to do.
I like the Dubois idea, to be honest.
I do too. So the next piece of news we have to talk about, Henrik Zetterberg and his non-induction into the Hall of Fame. Instead, the Hall taking 3 other Swedes in the Sedin twins and Daniel Alfredsson. Roberto Luongo got in too, which is good. But I think I didn't think Zetterberg would be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I didn't, even though we love him. He was a phenomenal player, especially for where he was drafted. One of those Ken Holland diamond in the rough kind of drafts. But I think that maybe you'll see him get in when Datsuk is eligible. I think Datsuk's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Absolutely. So maybe they put the Euro twins in together. But I don't have any doubts that Henrik Zetterberg will get into the Hall of Fame. I actually think they might also retire his number. But I'm not sure.
I think both of them get retired.
They might. And even if they don't retire Zetterberg's number, I'm not sure they let anyone use his number again.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think 40 is a very common number anyways. So
no, I don't think so. But the one thing that kind of irks me about the whole thing is like Alfredsson and Zetterberg were teammates
for a year.
Yeah. It kind of at the end of Alfredsson's career. Zetterberg has won a Stanley Cup. Alfredsson has not. I know Alfredsson has 1,100 points or 1,157 points. Zetterberg has 960. And I think where the argument really comes in is not really the regular season. Like, obviously, in terms of regular seasons, Alfredsson had, much better, or not much better, but marginally better stats in the regular season. And he played on some loaded Ottawa Senators teams, obviously. One of the best lines in hockey for 6 years, Spezza, Alfredsson, Heatley. So, I mean, those teams are unbelievable. But where the real argument, I think, is the playoffs. you remember that stat, right? The stat that Zetterberg had, I think it was no player in the NHL since 0203 when Zetterberg came into the league. This is probably going back to 2014, but they used to still say this because he had the most points in the Stanley Cup playoffs since 0203 when he came into the league. So, I mean, that's where Zetterberg made his case for the Hall of Fame. I think, obviously played in a ton of Stanley Cup playoff games for some really good Wings teams. But he had 120 points in 137 playoff games. A point in the playoffs is a lot harder to get than a point in the regular season.
He was over a point per game in like 5 of his playoff seasons. He had 2005-06, he had 6 points in 6 games. 6-7, he had 14 points in 18 games. 07-08, he had 27 points in 22 games. 08-09, 24 and 23. 9-10, he had 15 and 12. So yeah, he played several seasons where he was above a point per game in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, that 08-09 season where Datsuk pretty much didn't play much of the playoffs, and it kind of was Zetterberg and Hossa and those guys kind of carrying the team until Datsuk could get healthy. I mean, that season it alone was one of his better playoff seasons. And I mean, he was the best player on the team pretty much without Datsuk there, and obviously best forward, I should say. So I don't know. I mean, I definitely think that he'll get in. I know a lot of the people, like I was listening to NHL Network radio, and they were saying that Zetterberg will probably get in, but it may not be for 5 or 6 years. And I'm just like,
that's a long time.
Bullshit. That there's no way that that's the case. He could get in next year. Although I think there's some more eligible players next year that are like shoe-ins. Let me see. What is it? The 2023 Hall of Fame?
Yeah, it would be the 2022-23 Hall of Fame. But yeah, I think, and you can even go and look at Zetterberg's season by season points totals. He had 6 seasons where he was over a point per game. So for being taken number 210 overall in the draft, now granted the draft back then is not the same.
First year eligible: Henrik Lundqvist, Corey Crawford, Justin Williams, Alexander Mogilny still returning, Henrik Zetterberg's, Megan Duggan, Curtis Joseph, Patrick Eliash. I mean,
so do you think Corey Crawford's a first ballot Hall of Famer?
No. Well, you know what though? 3 Stanley Cups. He was on some really good teams, and I know everyone gives him shit for his glove, and rightfully so, but I mean, if Lundqvist gets in and he has no Stanley Cups,
absolutely a first ballot Hall of Famer.
If Lundqvist gets in and he has no Stanley Cups, Crawford's got to get in. He's got 3.
Is it about cups though?
I mean, no, maybe not. But I mean, obviously, in terms of hockey and a career, I mean, Henrik Lundqvist was much better. He was a guy that was taken 205th overall in 2000, and carved out the career that he had. Won that Olympic gold with Sweden. So, I mean, that's certainly another thing that the Hall of Fame takes a look at, because it's not just the NHL Hall of Fame, it's the Hockey Hall of Fame. So, yep. I don't know. Williams is interesting, too. I could see him getting in.
I don't know. My whole thing is that the Sedin twins, did they have any cups?
No. 2 girls, no cup.
Okay. Daniel Alfredson, did he have a cup? No. Roberto Luongo, did he have a cup?
No.
So you've got 4 people inducted this year that did not have Stanley Cups. So this is the year, I think, where they said, oh, maybe they looked at it a little harder, and just to please fans, they inducted a bunch of people without cups, because one player does not make a Stanley Cup winning team.
Well, you know what? I will say one thing. Those Canucks teams with the Sedins and Luongo and Kessler and all those guys, I mean, those teams are obviously great. So, I mean, It's not a shock to me that those guys got in. And I think, I hate to say this, but the Sedin's career has always been together. They were drafted together. They played together. They were on Team Sweden together. And, I mean, it's kind of rightfully so that they would go into the Hall of Fame together. What's that?
They could have been Siamese twins, basically, for everything they did together.
And now they're working both in the front office together.
Of course they are.
So, I mean, those guys obviously deserve it. And I mean, we could talk about Alfredson and Zetterberg. I think the one interesting thing to me is how is Alexander Mogilny not a Hall of Famer?
I like, again, I think what they did is they're like, well, we got to try this for the fans because
Like, is Mogilny never going to get in? I mean, he's got to have been on the ballot for what, 5 years, 6 years?
I don't know when he retired.
He had to. I think he retired in 2006.
Yeah, so he's been on 3 years post he would have been eligible in 2009. He's been on forever.
Holy crap. He's got to be in the Hall of Fame, man. He's one of only 6 players to score 75 goals in one season, and all 5 of them are in the Hall of Fame, and Mogilny's not. That's unbelievable.
There are always, what you will know is there are always snubs, Tyler. There are always going to be snubs for the Hall of Fame.
But I mean, again, like I said, I think Zetterberg will get in, kind of tying this all together. I think Zetterberg will be in. It might just take a little bit, but I don't think there's a doubt there. And I think Datsuk will also get in.
I do too. I actually think Datsuk's probably a first ballot Hall of Famer. But
probably, yeah.
We've got a couple more things to cover tonight. We have an interesting development. Like we said, the draft is 2 weeks away. Bobby Margarita has released his final draft order. And real interesting because Shane Wright is not number 1 on Bobby Margarita's draft order. He has bumped up Juraj Slafkovsky to number 1, Shane Wright 2, Logan Cooley 3, Simon Nemec at 4, and Cutter Gauthier at 5. I don't agree with the Gauthier bump, but that is bumping down players to our area like a Brad Lambert, like a Frank Nazar is in our area anyways, but like a Savoy. So the Red Wings are going to have some pretty good picks at 8. And if you doubt Bobby Margarita, since 2009, he has, I believe, correctly predicted every first overall pick since 2009, which is a long time. He even predicted the Nail Yakupov pick for Edmonton. So maybe they're going to him.
Margarita's not as drunk as you think he is.
Yeah, he's not maybe he was drinking his margaritas when he was making his list, but I mean, I have no reason to doubt Bob. He's been in the business forever. And he knows what he's talking about. He also is probably more well connected than most people. So if Slafkovsky goes 1, I wouldn't be mad.
So let me ask you this, right? How is this World Juniors going to work?
What do you mean?
Because it's in August. Yeah, they just announced. I believe it's going to be mid-August. I don't quote me on that directly, but I know it's going to be in August. And
camp start in September, late September.
Yeah, but how's that going to work in terms of like who's going to play?
I would assume
August 9th, USA opens play against Germany.
Well, once players are signed, they are not automatic. Or once players are drafted, they're not automatically signed. Yeah, so there's true. That.
So they can play if they want to before they sign.
Yeah, they could do that. I would assume teams are not going to say. I mean, most players, newly drafted players, unless they're pick 1 through 3, generally don't make their team year 1. So they'd let them go play in the World Juniors anyways, because it's not really going to affect anything. They're going to want them at camp in September. But if they're in the World Juniors and it takes a couple weeks, then they'll be free to do whatever they want afterwards. But I don't think they're going to have any issue getting their players in the World Juniors because they do want that exposure on the world stage for their prospects.
How's that going to work though? So they're going to play the World Juniors in August and then they're going to play it again in January?
That I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah,
they already said they're staying on schedule for next year.
Yeah, because the World Juniors from this year, obviously we know it was canceled because Canada couldn't get their shit together. But I mean, that one's replacing the one that was canceled. So this one, the next one would be in January, and I don't know who's going to play in that. Are they just going to have guys play twice?
It beats me. I have no idea what they're going to do there. I mean,
I hate to say, like, as much as it's going to be cool watching the World Juniors in the middle of August, like they probably should have just canceled it and moved on.
Probably.
But whatever. That's not here nor there.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do there. I mean, they could just say, hey, we're going to do it in August, and you figure September, October, November, December, January. 5 months later, do another one. I mean, it seems not likely, but I don't see
With
any
the
reason they couldn't do it.
IHF, I wouldn't even be surprised.
No, me
because
either.
because they moved the one out of Russia. I don't know where it is now. I think it's in I think it might be in the United States.
Maybe. I don't remember hearing anything about it.
Yeah, Halifax and Moncton, New Brunswick.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah.
in Canada. Yeah, and it is. It's already scheduled. The schedule to be held from December 26, 2022 through January 5th, 2023.
Then it's happening.
So it is happening. And then the 2022 one has been rescheduled to August. So that is accurate. They're going to play 2.
Yeah, and they're just going to restart it. They're not saying, well, we're going to count these games from last time.
I actually don't mind that because everything was so different, and who knows what the teams are going to look like and everything.
And William Wallander has made the team now, so William Wallander will be playing for Sweden when he was.
That'll be good. I think most of the guys, most of the prospects that maybe weren't able to play because of COVID concerns or whatever, they'll be able to play now, which will be good. I think it'll be best on best. So.
It will be. But before we get to our last segment of the night, our Q&A, we're going to read a quick ad from Manscaped. Growing out your playoff beard, let that thing loose up top. But our friends at Manscaped are here to help you avoid a jumbo Joe downstairs. The global leaders in below-the-waist grooming want to save your hockey pucks from a slap shot in crunch time this playoff season. 4 million men worldwide trust Manscaped to prepare them for the Stanley Cup. Join them and go to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code GRINDLINE. Shaving your balls starts with the perfect package for your package, the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped. Hide your beard trimmers because 'tis the season for ball trimmers. The Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer leads the Performance Package 4.0 and features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer is also included in this package. It is also waterproof and has the skin-safe technology, so you can keep the unnecessary roughness on the ice where it belongs. The Crop Preserver is an anti-chafing ball deodorant to keep your balls sticking to your leg from end to end. No one will be chirping you anymore. And the Crop Reviver is a spray-on toner. It's made with soothing aloe and witch hazel extracts that will give your balls a boost. So again, get 20% off plus free shipping with the promo code GRINDLINE at manscaped.com. That is 20% off plus free shipping with the promo code GRINDLINE. Don't be a goon fighting your bush with the wrong trimmer. Choose the right tools for the job this playoff season with Manscaped. Again, go buy their body wash. Holy hell, it is amazing. Tyler, go buy their body wash. It is amazing.
I will buy the body wash.
One pump gets it's the entire, seriously, I use so much body wash and waste a ton of it. With this, it's a single pump, and you will be spending the next 15 minutes cleaning off I use those crazy scrubby things you get down the aisle. Yeah. You'll spend the next 15 minutes washing soap out of it because the lather is absolutely insane. So,
and does it leave your skin like soft and
yeah, no, it's super, again, that also has aloe in it, so it's hydrating. And it smells very faintly of cologne, which is great. It doesn't make you smell like weird Amazon rainforest or very fake plastic scent. So it smells really good, and you'll get a ton of use. It also comes in an aluminum bottle, so you can't squeeze it and get a bunch of stuff all over the place.
Or drop it and drop it and break the cap right off.
Yeah, or break the thing in half, and then you got to pour it into a gallon Ziploc bag and cut the corner. But yeah, no, it's amazing. It's really good stuff. Again, and then the trimmers are, second to none. And the blades are replaceable, the ceramic blades. So you need a new one, you just pop it off, pop the new one on. And again, ceramic, so it's not going to snag. It's very much more less likely to cut you. So it's an awesome deal. Go to manscaped.com. A lot of different
techniques too to make yourself so you don't get cut in terms of how you hold things and whatever. I'm not going to get into everything.
Tyler's been doing his
online,
research.
but certainly there's ways to do it so you can avoid even potentially getting cut.
Yeah, you can shave a little unicorn in there, or a star, or a rainbow, or whatever you want to do, right? But yeah, go to manscaped.com, 20% off plus free shipping with the promo code GRINDLINE. We are going to end tonight's show. I asked, and I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll get some responses because we came on going, it's slow news day again. There's nothing really to talk about, but we do have a Q&A that I did post and immediately got responses from. So we are going to talk Q&A tonight, and Tyler did not get advance notice of all these questions. So we're going to go off the cuff with Tyler. And they're all from Twitter. So Mike Kosnick at mkosnick1. Will we have a coach by the end of the week? By the end of this week, today is Tuesday. I'm going to say no. I think we will get a coach next week. And I believe it will be one of the Tampa assistant coaches at this point. And it's going to probably, I would maybe a Monday or Tuesday of next week announcement for it. Just let them get all their affairs in order and do an interview, because that's probably
the draft is on. Is it next Friday?
The draft is on the 7th. That is next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
Yep.
I'm going to say we have a coach by the time the draft starts.
That, I think, was one of Yzerman's things. He said he wanted to have a coach before the draft starts.
Yeah. So I think that is what'll happen. I don't know. It could be this week. It could be one of those situations where Steve Yzerman's like, yeah, it's a little bit too quiet around the hockey landscape. Let's get this out of the way.
Shake some shit up.
Yeah, let's shake some shit up, right?
Here's a tweet from Kevin Weeks from earlier, and I don't know half the names on here, but here you go, Tyler. Young coaches to keep an eye on: Jack Adams finalist Andrew Brunette, who I thought probably would also get an interview with the Wings, because I was pretty surprised they fired him after what he did with the Panthers. Jeff Halpern, who is one that is probably going to get a long look in Detroit. Jay Leach, Marco Sturm, Spencer Carberry, Ryan McGennell, no idea who that is. Dave Nemirovsky, Jason Payne, Elaine Nasreddin.
Yeah, he was in New Jersey a couple of years ago.
Matt Thomas, Sheldon Brookbank, Enrico Blasi, Mark Savard, and Mike Pekka.
Yeah, Rico Blasi was the coach at Miami of Ohio and almost won a national championship there with them. Actually built a pretty good program there. But that's several years ago now. And then Mark Savard's an interesting one. I kind of look at him as potentially with Boston. Wasn't he with Windsor this year in the OHL?
Could not tell you.
I think he was with Windsor in the OHL this year, Mark Savard as a coach. But anyways, yeah, I mean, there's definitely some good young coaches out there for sure.
Yeah, Halpern has the inside relationship with Steve Yzerman because being from Tampa, but it's a long list of young coaches, and Elliot Friedman kind of pointed to the fact that Detroit is looking at younger people and people that you don't really hear in talk for head coaching positions frequently. So does it seem to you like they're going to go and try to do the Swedish route, or no? The longer it takes, the less likely I think that is to happen. Now, maybe they bring in a Ricard Gromborg as an assistant, and maybe he works his way into a head coaching position, but it doesn't look, at this point, it doesn't look like it. I mean, I'm kind of glad they didn't dip their toe in the water of Barry Trotz or me too.
Who
is not going to be coaching next season.
Barry Trotz is a great coach. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
Great coach. But it was time to move on from, or I shouldn't say time to move on, but it was time to get away from the old club.
Get off the carousel.
Yeah, get off the carousel. Time to go around. I mean, if everyone else wants to stay on it, then that's fine. But I think the Wings should kind of go away from that.
From J97 on Twitter at Warm Crib Music, which of the new coaching hires do you expect to have the most immediate impact on their team? And that's kind of a tough one to answer. I'd love to say Cassidy in Vegas. I think he's going to be a very good coach for that team. He seems to be able to squeeze talent out. And I don't think not anyone, but a lot of people didn't expect Boston to do what Boston did this season, I don't think. And Cassidy has been good pretty much every season he was there. Tyler will disagree, but I think Cassidy in Vegas is probably the direction there for me. I
think it's going to be Paul Maurice with the Florida Panthers. I
That's
just
a
think
good
the
one, too.
Panthers are still a really good team. And I mean, obviously Paul Maurice is a good coach. There's no that's not a question. I don't think. I really do think Paul Maurice is a good player, is a good coach. So I mean, and obviously Cassidy could be a one as well, but I definitely think that Maurice has the upper hand there.
I'm going to change my answer to whoever Steve Yzerman hires. They will have the most immediate impact on their team because
Homer.
these other teams are already like Florida's already in the playoffs. Boston was already in the playoffs. Red Wings aren't. So if we can go from 8th worst in the league to 15th worst in the league, that's the most immediate impact on their team. So whoever Steve Yzerman hires, they're going to do it. Next question from Jimmy St. Dennis at James St. Dennis _. Will the Wings trade the 8th pick? I am going to say no. I don't think there is any reason for the Red Wings to move up or to waste assets to move up in this draft.
The only thing I could say is if they traded for DeBrincat.
And I don't think I would push, if you're trading for DeBrincat, I would push to trade next year's pick, not this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. That's certainly fair. I don't think they're going to trade it just because I don't think Steve Yzerman's in that.
There's no appetite to trade it.
To start, moving first round picks.
Yeah, maybe next season.
I guess anything's possible at the end of the day.
From Shane at Shane _Lizard on Twitter, why is Steve Yzerman? And that's a very good question. Because he is. Steve Yzerman is everything. He is the beginning and end. He sees all. He is Steve Yzerman. It's because he's just a phenomenal hockey mind. That's why.
Yeah, Yzerman, it's interesting, right? I mean, Yzerman did a great job in Tampa. I mean, obviously was a great Red Wing and a Hall of Famer and a Hall of Fame person on top of everything. One of the best captains ever. I mean, you can't say enough good things about Steve Yzerman. We could go on for 25 minutes about how great of a individual and a great player and everything else.
And leader.
But in terms of, is he a better player or is he a better executive? Because if he can win a Stanley Cup with Detroit,
sure,
and bring this thing all the way full circle and this rebuild kind of out of where it was, and then obviously the dynasty that he started with Tampa Bay. I mean, I know he didn't fully oversee that, but he could be in the conversation as one of the best executives ever.
And he'll have his job here until he doesn't want it anymore.
Yeah. Well,
they are not firing Steve Yzerman. Like, the city will revolt. They are not firing Steve Yzerman.
But the thing is, right, I mean, obviously at one point in time, there will be times where people do start questioning him and stuff like that, kind of like Michigan did with Jim Harbaugh. But the difference is Yzerman has won at other places doing what he's done. Jim Harbaugh didn't win at Stanford and didn't win with the 49ers, although he came close. So, I mean, I guess there's the kind of comparison. But anyways, go ahead.
If you're looking at kind of a comparison for how long Steve Yzerman could be with Detroit, David Poile has been with the Nashville Predators since 1997. So, I mean, there's that. Brian Biolo on Twitter at BBiolo. Realistically, could the number 91 be retired this season? I am going to say realistically, yes. Realistically, Sergei Fedorov's number could be retired next season. And it seems like they're getting more friendly with him. He was on that video, that congratulations video to Moritz Seider. So I think that as the team and management and stuff starts warming back up to Fedorov, not that they were cold on him before, but I think because, in partially because of the fan just screaming for it, I think they could retire Fedorov's number this season.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't given the number out. And I mean, it's just, to me, it's like, what are you really waiting for? I mean, like, I know, it didn't end well. Mr. Ilitch thought that he was going to stay with Detroit, and he ended up signing a big contract with Anaheim. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, you kind of have to get over that stuff. Like, I'm sorry. I know that may make me sound kind of foolish, but people were pissed at the time. But I mean, he did a lot of things for the Red Wings.
Yep.
He was one of the best players in the NHL for
A
pretty
long
much
time.
Yeah, one of the best players of all time, first ballot Hall of Famer. He needs to have that number 91 retired. It needs to be up there. I don't understand why it's not yet. I really don't. I understand like you want to have old grudges and all that stuff, but you got to put that shit aside when it comes to Hall of Famers and stuff like that, and just kind of go with it. I really do think that there is a possibility it gets done this year. Or maybe they announce it this year and they don't do it till next year or something. But
maybe I think they would announce it before the season, like in preseason.
Yeah,
Sergei Fedorov jersey retirement night, and then sell out completely in 2 seconds.
I'd love to see it. I mean, I think a lot of people would love to see it.
From Gustav on Twitter at Steve Eiser meme 19, will Berggren and Edvinson's Calder race be Raymond Insider 2.0? I wish. I was talking to Lars. Shout out to Lars again for translating more content. I was talking to Lars, and I said selfishly I would love Berggren to be in the Calder discussion next year. I think it's slim. He said Berggren's maybe a dark horse for Calder discussion if his season goes in the NHL like it went in the AHL. I think Edvinsson is going to have, and again, if Edvinsson wins the Calder and then 2 years in a row you've got a defenseman winning the Calder, and they're both Red Wings defensemen, that's pretty phenomenal. But I don't think Berggren is, I'm not going to say not able to keep up with the race, but I guess it depends on who the breakout rookies are next season.
Beniers will be one, the kid out of the University of Michigan that's with the Seattle Kraken.
You'll have Kent Huskins. Holy
Kent
fuck.
Johnson, another Michigan guy.
You'll have Luke
Mason Hughes McTavish. Will probably, actually, I think Luke Hughes is coming back to Michigan for one more year.
You'll have Mason McTavish.
Yeah.
So
there's certainly a lot of good young players coming into the league. And I mean, Shane Wright is going to be a guy that probably will have a chance to win that as well. It's same with Juraj Slafkovsky as well. So
yeah, I think Edvinsson should be in the discussion with the way he's played. If he translates as well, if he plays, and he will play, but if he starts the season and can have that whole season to go, I think he should be in the discussion. Berggren, I'm hoping, but I don't think it will be a Raymond Sider 2.0 situation there. I would love it to be. I just don't think it will.
No, well, I mean, to be fair, though, we didn't think that was going to be the case. We didn't even know if Raymond was going to make the team.
I had hope. We can go back and run the tapes. I can pull tapes, but I think that I said, and I mean, I was the most bullish of all of us. I said Raymond 50 points in his first season, and he overdid it. So, I mean, Berggren, I'm not going to say 50 points in his first season. I'm going to say maybe Berggren hits 40, maybe. But I don't think Berggren's not the same caliber of player as a Raymond. So,
no, I don't think so. But I mean, hey, you know what? Like we said before, if this rebuild is gonna become faster than we all thought it was going to become, he's going to have to hit on some guys. Yeah. I mean, Nikita Kucherov wasn't exactly Nikita Kucherov until he took off. So I mean, there's diamonds in the rough all the time, and if you want to become a team like Tampa, which we've always kind of compared this rebuild to Tampa's, even though it's a little bit slightly different. You're gonna have to hit on some of these guys.
Yeah.
So I mean, why not? We'll say it. We'll say that there's a chance, but I wouldn't hold your breath.
So from Kringle Von Berg at Kringleberg on Twitter, would you trade Philip Hronek for Martin Necas? I would. Yes, I would.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah, right now. Get on the phone, because Necas has shown a huge amount of talent, had an off season last season. Hronek has shown talent and has had an off season, not an off season, but defensively not responsible last season and not super great the season before. I would trade him, and then I would just sign some right defenseman in free agency to fill the spot. Yeah, that is something I would do. You would get a young player up front
deal.
Sure.
There's
You'd
a
get a
player
young
to be
player up
had
front in
there.
net chess. So
Yeah.
I would totally do it.
I don't know if Carolina would do it.
No, they would not. Absolutely not. You'd have to throw in a pick.
Yeah.
From Jeffrey Dunst at Dunst_Jeffrey, what would you do with Kosa next season? And if we are the team to pick Brad Lambert, do you think Grand Rapids is the best spot for him? Kosa is interesting. If Kosa can come into camp, and again, Kosa was eliminated from the playoffs, but if he can come into camp and show he's got a really good foundation there, I have no problem with him being a backup in Grand Rapids. And if he's not a backup in Grand Rapids, like if he cannot solidify that role, and we had talked about this last week too, I'd see if you can send him over to the SHL. I'm not playing him. I do not think the ECHL is a good development route for NHL players.
No,
I don't think so.
no, it's only good. It's only good for those fringe guys that
your
that
bottom line guys.
Yeah, or I mean, I guess there's some examples of guys that became pretty impact players, but it's few and far between. And I do agree with you. It's not a good developmental league. The SHL, I mean, you've had success with it, so why not?
Yeah, if there's room, and I mean there could be room. You're getting a guy like with a high quality of a prospect as Kosa is. I think several SHL teams would say, sure, we have a spot. You can come and play. There's a spot for you. I'm not sure.
I think there's zero chance he goes back to Edmonton, though.
I would agree now with kind of what he did in these playoffs. I think you'd be doing him a disservice, even though his first half of the season was not super great up until, I mean, the World Juniors kind of ruined his confidence and not being able to play. And then he totally got that back and just killed it out there and was named one of the top 3 stars several times, had several shutouts in the playoffs. I can't send him back. So I'm either sending him to the SHL or I'm playing him as a backup in Grand Rapids. And then as far as Brad Lambert goes, no. No. I would also see if you can send him to the SHL, because when we talked to Tony, that Pelicans team was awful. That he's more comfortable there, but the team was bad. And if that team is still going to be bad, that's not good development for Brad Lambert. So maybe you send him to Grand Rapids. I mean, they put Mo in Grand Rapids. I don't see why not.
Yeah. I mean, so Brad Lambert's interesting, right? I mean, he's a pretty big guy. There's a chance that he could still be a star. I think a couple of years ago he was projected to be the second overall pick, and he's kind of
he was a top 3. Yeah,
he's fallen way back. But I mean, again, COVID, that a lot of that had to do with a lot of players kind of mentally not all there and things like that. So you definitely have to take that into consideration. And I mean, like you said, he's playing on an awful Pelicans team. So I don't even read into that too much. Somehow they made the playoffs if they were that awful. But I don't know if that's the situation where just in that league, everybody makes it. I don't know. But he's been a pretty good player over his career. So, I mean, Brad Lambert would be interesting. I would probably put him in Grand Rapids. If you can find a spot for him in the SHL in a good situation, like maybe not Malmo, not Malmo, maybe like a Rolunda or Rogala or one of those teams. Why not? But I don't know how full those leagues are, especially with a lot of players leaving the KHL and stuff. They're probably looking for spots there. So
now, could you send Brad Lambert to juniors? He is his rights are owned by the Saskatoon Blades.
No.
I mean, it's a
Brad Lambert is a very interesting guy. It feels like he's either going to be a guy that kind of falls and doesn't really pan out, or he's going to be a guy that's an absolute star. I don't know why I say that. It's just, it kind of feels that way.
Yeah, I would say, I don't think Grand Rapids would hurt him. I think if you could move him to the SHL, because Yzerman has no problem with that. And I don't have any problem with that. The guys that have come out of the SHL that we've drafted have done great. Look at Elmer.
Yeah, I mean, just how much he exploded. To me, if you could get a Brad Lambert, let's put it this way, you can get a Brad Lambert, and we already know Soderblom's probably going to play in the AHL, and we don't know if Berggren's going to make the team or not. I guess it depends on what Yzerman does in the offseason.
Well, we know Johansson's going to be over there. We know that Emil Vero is probably going to play in Grand Rapids, so they're going to be pretty talented prospects in Grand Rapids next season. They should be an exciting team to watch.
Yeah, I like it. I really do. I like the idea of stacking the AHL team and just seeing kind of where you can go. Although he's 18, would he be eligible for the AHL?
Yes, because he is coming out of a foreign league.
Right, and then he's not a you said his rights are to the Saskatoon Blades, but he's never signed or anything, right?
No, he's not played for them. So
his uncle's Lane Lambert.
yeah, well, you knew that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, Lane Lambert's uncle. So there's also the Yzerman connection there.
Yeah, so I don't know. That'll be interesting to see as well. And Jimmy Lambert, his cousin, played at Michigan. So
there's ties, man. Keep connecting the dots.
Keep connecting the dots. Hockey is a small family, but go ahead. Sorry.
Last question of the night from Jeremiah Bjorkstead at Jay Borkstead. Andre Burakovsky is a free agent. I absolutely love him, but curious if the Avs keep him or what he'd want per year. I think the Avs do keep him. The Avs have a ton of money. I don't see any real reason not to.
They have to pay McKinnon after this year, though.
Well, they do, but again, they still have one of the lowest cap hits in hockey. So I don't think that there's any reason for them to dump him. Andre Burakovsky right now, using Evolving Hockey's contract projection tool, predicted term of 7 years with a cap hit of 6.903.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, but I mean, is it really though?
Yeah, when you have to pay Nathan McKinnon 9.5 to 12. I mean, he could, if he wanted to be that guy, he could stick it to the Avalanche. I don't know if he will. I don't know if he's that type of guy. It doesn't seem like he's that type of guy. Hey, but now he's got a Stanley Cup. He's been on a team-friendly deal for, a long time. He's 26 years old. If he hits unrestricted free agency, man, he's going to get $13-15 million a year.
So,
that's more than double what he's got now.
Yeah. So Andre Burakovsky,
he could really screw the Avalanche if he wanted to. I don't think he will.
I don't think he wants
cut from the same cloth as Sidney Crosby, where he's going to take less to make the team, be able to afford guys like Alex Newhook and Cale Makar. Well, Cale Makar's signed already, which is kind of unreal. But Bowen Byram and Devon Taves is up in 2 years. So I mean, they have some guys that they have to re-sign. Like Kemper's a UFA now. So I don't know. There's certainly some maneuvering that they have to do, but they're definitely set up kind of like Tampa was a couple of years ago, where they're going to be going after this for a while now.
Well, if you look at Andre Burakovsky's previous seasons, this season in 80 games played, and this season he has played the most games in a season in his career. 80 games played, 22 goals, 39 assists for 61 points. Last season with Colorado, in 53 games played, he had 19 goals and 25 assists for 44 points. If you look at Jay Fresh's WAR chart, he's at a 92% WAR, 74% EV offense, 18% EV defense. So his defense is not great, but his goals per 60 is at 93, and his primary assist per 60 is at 97, with a finishing of 98 and a competition of 97. So, I mean, great player. If you've got to pay him $6.9 million, probably not for the Red Wings. He's a left wing, so he doesn't solve a center problem for you. There's
other UFAs I like better than him. I like the Trocheck idea. I've been saying that for a while. I think that would be a good fit, kind of a match made in heaven. He's from Michigan. Mickey Redmond loves him.
Yeah, that helps.
But no, I mean, in all seriousness, I think the Trocheck idea is fantastic, because if you sign him long term, you could have him as a wing, as a center to start. Maybe
Vincent Trocheck is not from Michigan, Tyler.
What's that?
He is not from Michigan. He's from Pennsylvania.
Oh, did he play junior hockey in Michigan? I think he might have played junior hockey in Michigan.
I'd have to look it up, but he is not from Michigan.
Why do I keep saying why? Oh, DeBrinket's from Michigan. That's
yes.
What it is. But anyways, I mean, he definitely has Michigan ties, so there's definitely an opportunity there. But like I said before, more importantly, in terms of the team needs and stuff like that, he's a player that he could project as a center for now as the 1B. And then if you draft someone and, you know, they happen to be the 2C in a couple of years or whatever, or someone emerges and they push him, maybe he can play the wing. You know, he's played the wing in his career. So I don't see why not. Plus he gives you flexibility. So, I mean, that's where I look to.
So
Vinny Trocheck.
The Avs right now have 25.685 million in cap space. They need to resign Abe Kubel, Arturi Lehkonen. He's going to get money. Burakovsky, Andrew Cogliano, Darren Helm if he comes back. Nazem Kadri is either going to be a free agent or the Avs are going to re-sign him. Nico Sturm, Jack Johnson, bye-bye. Josh Manson, who was good for them, Ryan Murray, and Darcy Kemper.
I think Josh Manson's going to end up back in Anaheim.
They've got a lot of people to sign. McKinnon's not up until next season.
Next season. That's what I said after this coming season.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there, but I don't think they have a reason to trade him or to let him go. I think they could re-sign him. If you're looking at Vincent Trocheck's Michigan ties, he played 4 seasons for the Saginaw Spirit and 1 season for the
There it is. I knew there was some Michigan tie.
There you go. There's
that's right. He is from Pittsburgh. One of the few players in the NHL from Pittsburgh.
And the last question, actually, we had one just pop in from Chris Federley at Chris Federley, who's the top free agent the Wings should target. We already talked about it just a minute ago. Vincent Trocheck, I think, is the top free agent the Red Wings should target to shore up the second line center position. If you're going to go with a true free agent and not a trade, I would say Trocheck. And again, I'll also say Strome as a kind of 1-2 there, could go either way.
Dylan Strome?
Yeah.
Or Ryan Strome?
Ryan Strome.
Did you see the video that one of the Rangers fans made of him missing the net a zillion times in the Stanley Cup playoffs this year?
I don't even think the Rangers belonged in the playoffs. The only reason they were there is because of their goalie.
Shesterkin. Shesty.
Yeah. He says my thoughts is someone to play with Sider, get him a compliment. I'm hoping that's Edvinsson next season. So
yeah, no, they don't need to go spending big money on defensemen yet.
Yeah, not
because you're gonna have if everything works out the way you want it to, you're gonna have 2 big ass contracts on defense.
You're gonna have to spend big money on your own defenseman.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
But I want to get your final thoughts before we sign off, Tyler.
Well, my final thoughts are we're getting to the point in time where the rubber meets the road with the coaching decision. We're getting to the point in time where, I mean, there's going to be a decision one way or another on, I mean, trades and free agency and you know, there's a lot of things to be talked about here over the next couple weeks. So I'm just looking forward to it. I think everyone else should be looking forward to it. If you're in the Detroit area or the Metro Detroit area, definitely go down to that draft party if you can.
Yeah, come meet me.
Go meet Greg because me and Ryan can't make it. I'm in Massachusetts, and I mean, if we would have planned it out, I probably would have been able to come. But unfortunately, this time around, I'm not going to be able to come. Hopefully, you can get us some more people to have on the podcast.
Yeah, let me work my magic.
Yeah, work your proverbial magic there. So, but other than that, I mean, I just think that there's a lot of exciting things to talk about. The playoffs are over now, so you don't have to worry about that distraction. It's going to be a bumpy ride. I really do think there's going to be a lot of movement for the Wings, and not only just the Wings, but the whole NHL. I think there's going to be a lot of movement in the league. So you have that to look forward to as well. And those are my final thoughts. You can follow me on Twitter at SealDog91.
Yeah, my final thoughts are I'm starting a new thing. So if there is midweek news, we don't have to wait an entire week to talk about it. I'm starting a new YouTube segment called 10-Minute Major. So when something happens during the midweek, I will be recording as close to a 10-minute segment on it as I can and getting that up on YouTube just so that we get to the news while the news happens, and then we can get everyone's opinion on it during the week. So if we get a coach, say I post this tomorrow and we get a coach on Thursday, I will be recording a 10-minute major about the coaching hire that we can all then talk about on Monday. That way we don't miss news pieces and there is stuff to post midweek as well. I also would love if everyone could go to our YouTube page, Grindline Podcast on YouTube, subscribe to us, hit the notification button. We are up on there. We do have a TikTok now, Tyler. I made a TikTok today.
Well, of course you did.
You can follow us on TikTok at Grindline Pod. I'll be posting stuff there too. So, you can follow us online at Grindline Pod. You can follow me online at Bringing the Wing. We'll give a shout out to the Hockey Podcast Network at HockeyPodNet. If you go follow them, they have a bunch of hockey podcasts from all over, all the different teams. They host us. They spread us around. We are forever grateful. Let's give a shout out to Vintage Detroit, where you should get all of your Detroit jerseys from. Their customer service is amazing. Their product is next to none. We love working with them. If you use the promo code GRINDLINE on Bring Hockey Back, you'll get 12% off. And if you use that same promo code on Howie's Hockey Tape, you'll get 10% off. We also give a shout out to our merch shop. If you go to redbubble.com and search the Grind Line, you will find all of our merch there. And last but not least, if I am forgetting anything, it is Manscaped. If you use the promo code GRINDLINE at Manscaped, you'll get 20% off plus free shipping. But that is going to do it for us tonight. So for Tyler, I am Greg. You stay classy, Hockey Town.